I've been with the city for 20 years, and when I was first hired, I was hired as the environmental manager. And I was the first person in the city who had that title, generally looking at all the environmental issues. But at the same time, this topic of sustainability kept coming up. So the idea that it was more than just being an environmentalist, but you also had to look long term to make sure that everything we did also helped the economy or didn't negatively affect the economy, and that we were looking at things in an equitable manner. And that was the whole, kind of definition of sustainability. We were starting to realize that there was a real benefit to doing long-term planning in that way, had to do with climate change and energy policy. And so we became a division under public services when Mayor Becker came into office in 2007. And then we became a department 8 years later when Mayor Biskupski came into office.
In your tenure, it seems like Salt Lake City has been a leader in sustainability in the state and in the nation. Can you talk about how we've set an example under your watch?
That's, I think, been so exciting, especially working on the national level. We're one of the first sustainability departments, divisions in the nation. And in 2007, about 12 cities got together and we started talking to each other saying, what is this sustainability definition? How are we going to really use it in our cities? We were able to get funding as a group, grow what started as a small organization, the Urban Sustainability Directors Network, and there's now 230 cities that are members. By being a leader, Salt Lake City has been invited to do so many things, gotten funding for things like our building energy benchmarking ordinance, our building electrification projects, a lot of our equity work. Because of our leadership, quite often it wasn't a situation of us going and trying to compete for funds. They came to us and said, you're leading in these areas, here's some funding, do you want to be part of this solution with us? Locally, we've had the opportunity to implement a lot of these things and then see other cities in the region follow us. I mean, from simple things like we were the first city to have any sort of recycling program, and now you can't imagine a city in the region not having a recycling program. We had the first ordinance prohibiting idling in the city, and many other cities in the Wasatch Front area now have that same ordinance. Sometimes we were the ones who just stuck our necks out, but we certainly found that other cities followed once we set the example.
So much of thinking about sustainability is trying to imagine the future and imagine what our impacts on the future are going to be. The city has been very fortunate to have you working for it, but you're retiring soon. And I'm wondering, as you look to the future of Salt Lake City and sustainability and your retirement, what seeds have you been able to plant that you're excited to watch bear fruit more from the sidelines or from retirement or from a beach somewhere?
Right. Yeah. Some of the seeds are ones that are, I guess you could call them, infrastructure, technical things like the renewable energy program we've created, and the fact that we'll have 100% community renewable energy by 2030. And the ordinances and laws that we've seen passed at the state level to make that happen. I think the most important seed, if you want to talk about what I feel like we've grown, is our team and our staff. I'm retiring knowing that Salt Lake City is in great hands. The people who are working in our department are second to none. They're national leaders. They know what needs to be done, and they're coming in with new ideas that are so exciting. So I really feel like we're being left in an excellent position, and it's part of the reason I don't feel too guilty going to find a beach to sit on.
As you look back over the years that you've been at the city and you've been working on sustainability issues, if you had to point to one thing that you felt you were most personally invested in or most proud of, what would that be over your time here?
I think the one thing that I could really look back at and say, boy, that was something I would have never gotten any other way, was when we were invited partly because through our sustainability director network connections to be on the White House Climate Task Force, and Mayor Becker was the official member of that under President Obama. But I was able to be there as staff with him and attend a series of meetings with the president and get to meet him and really see how invested he was in approaching all of the climate issues and ensuring that we're looking at what we could do to minimize climate change. And you just can't even start to realize how fortunate you are to sit in the room with the President of the United States and discuss these issues and know that your work is really making a difference.
It really brings home the idea that all politics are local.
It really does. And that's why I've really enjoyed working with the city, is that we are working with our residents, and the things that we do affect them the most, and we can help them in the best ways. And it's so exciting to be able to drive to work in the morning and look at things. And I look at the public safety building and the fact that it's a net zero building. And I remember the discussion I had with an energy engineer at a conference when we first were talking about creating building the public safety building, and saying, let's see if we could make it net zero. And it happened, and that you had some real influence on the things that are happening here.
For residents that are watching this and really interested in trying to see how they can do their part to ensure that legacy of sustainability that you've helped build the foundation for, what would be your advice for them, or where would you send them to go for more information?
Well, we have, of course, all of our programs are discussed in great depth on our website, slcgreen.com. And that's probably the best starting point. They can see where they can be involved and see what sorts of ideas we have. We really do want residents to be able to give us their thoughts, and they're the ones who quite often lead the way on some of these things that we're trying to, the ideas and programs we're trying to implement. So that would be where I recommend they be